thanks everybody for coming along to the Q&A today. We're very fortunate that we've got Adam with us today. Adam is the Conservative County Council candidate for Redhill East, so welcome, Adam.
Hi everyone. Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me. I've been looking at some of the work that Active Prospects are doing, and I think it really highlights the strengths of our community. So as you know, my name's Adam, and I am standing for Redhill East on May 6th. And what encouraged me to stand is really the fantastic community. I want to make a difference, and I've worked with some other local organisations in the past, so I think by standing for council, it's really going to enable me to take that work to the next level. And currently I'm working for a local MP, so I have plenty of experience working with casework and on national and local policy issues. So yeah, it's really great to be here and to meet everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Adam. Before we start the question and answer sessions, just want to run through a few Zoom rules and a bit of housekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you please all make sure that you're on mute unless you'd like to ask a question. Any comments or suggestions, if you could put those in the chat box. And if you need to ask a question and like to take part in the discussion, could you raise your hand, please? And we'll make sure that we come to you. And could you please make sure that other people's are respected, even if they're not the same as yours. Thank you. And just to let you know, we are recording the session. So if you don't want to be in the recording, if you want to turn your video off, that would be brilliant. Thank you. Okay, well, Adam, thanks for joining us. And the first question is from me, and it's, how would you ensure that people with a learning disability have their voices heard in things that matter to them? You're on mute, Adam. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think the most important thing to do that I'm going to continue to do is to just work really closely with organisations like Active Prospects, who work so closely with people with learning disabilities and understand their needs really well. And it'll just mean that everyone will be able to have their voices heard. If ever there's an important policy issue, they'll be able to feedback how it might affect people with learning disabilities, just so that that is taken into consideration when the decisions are being made. And in addition to that, another thing I'm keen to do is just make sure there's multiple ways for people to contact me, or not just me, but also the council in general. Just so that, for instance, if people find it easier to talk by telephone, or talk to me in person, or write to me, everyone will have a way of contacting me that best fits their needs. And I think that'll be really important to enable people with learning disabilities to get in touch on the things that matter to them. And one final thing is that I think strong communication is really important. So it's just about communicating what the key decisions are that are being taken, how it will affect all the residents, and especially people with learning disabilities, just so that they can have a say and understand what is happening at the council.
Thanks very much, Adam. And next question is from Lizzie.
Yeah.
How can you make it easier for people with disabilities to understand and take part in voting?
Yeah, so again, a really important question. And I think, so I mentioned making information available in various different forms. And that's one of the key things I've done. So explaining key issues and objectives in my election address. So I've done it in a text form, but also I've created videos. I'm always very happy to have telephone conversations with people. So that's one of the ways, by making the information available in various different forms. It just means that everybody, and especially people with disabilities, are able to understand it in the way that works best for them. And one of my ambitions as councillor will be to ensure that like the caps, especially because nowadays everything is moving online. And I know that some people find it like less accessible if everything is online. So just making sure that there continues to be ways for people, and especially people with disabilities, to get a hold of information in a way that works best for them.
Thank you. We have a question from Gloucester Road.
Yeah.
Ask job wise, I like to do jobs, just little woodwork stuff. I don't know, but I like woodwork, so
Yeah.
so get into hopefully jobs.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And the next question comes from Mimi.
Hiya. So
Hi.
my question is that at the moment in residential care, if we go out, then we have to self-isolate for 2 weeks when we come back. But this is kind of like a discrimination issue, I feel, because like other people are getting to go out if they're in supported living or even not in care.
Yeah. So you want to understand like why that's the case?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is coming from a national policy issue. So unfortunately, it's not something that I or the other local councillors can directly influence. I think the government is just trying to do all it can to ensure that everyone in residential care has a safe environment. But I do understand your point. So if you'd like me to assist in writing to your Member of Parliament, I'd be very happy to do so.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I think I'll put my contact details available after this.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That would be really, really helpful. Thank you. And I think Mimi has another question.
Yeah.
And my other question is about the fact that there's not a lot of easy read information for things like COVID. There's been quite a lot of people that I know that have been like, I don't know potentially what COVID is, or I don't know what to do if I get symptoms, kind of thing. A lot of people feel like they don't have anywhere to turn because they feel like going to the hospital is such a risk. Is there other alternatives?
Yeah, so one of the things we've been really keen to do is to put information out on social media. So using like graphics and stuff, which makes it slightly easier. But another thing is, in the past we've so not just with COVID, but think issues like voting, like information about your local councillors, stuff like that. A lot of it in the past has just been in a paper format. So what I've been keen to do this year is make everything available in a digital format as well, so that you're able to access the accessibility features on your computer. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea. Maybe one of the things we could explore is creating like a special version of pamphlets with more information on stuff like that, which would be really helpful for people with disabilities. So yeah, thank you for the idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mimi. And the next question is from Lizzie.
I think it's probably you, Steph, I think, but I don't mind doing this.
Oh no, we're not doing that question, Lizzie. We're going on to the taxi card question.
How will you increase recycling and tackle environmental problems such as pollution and fly tipping?
Yeah, I think that's a really important one, especially because Surrey County Council has announced that they're going to get to net zero by 2030. So one of the practical ways that I'm going to be doing that is by really focusing on cycling infrastructure. And I think one of the reasons I'm well suited for that is because I do cycle everywhere. I don't drive. So I understand the issues that cyclists are facing. So there's two parts of this. On the one hand, I'll be hot on the small things like clearing overgrown bushes, making sure there are places for people to lock their bikes, ensuring that if ever trees fall on the cycle paths or on roads, that's cleared as soon as possible. And also if residents need to get in touch with that, I'm going to make sure they're able to contact me. So I have a website where people will be able to contact me, and by email as well, and social media, of course. But then there's also the big stuff. So whenever decisions are being made on roads or key intersections, I'm going to really consider the needs of cyclists and pedestrians, just to ensure that all the cycle network is well connected, which I think really makes a difference and is the thing that will encourage more people to cycle. And just in general as well, to tackle pollution, like air pollution, one of the things we're keen to do is roll out electric car charging stations, so that just to encourage and incentivize people to switch to electric cars. And finally, one of the things I'm really keen to do is encourage development around existing transport hubs, which means that people won't necessarily need to commute by car, and they can just walk to the local train station, and that will also have a really big influence on reducing carbon emissions. And it will also mean that we can keep the other greener and nicer areas of Surrey free from development. So we can deliver housing, cut carbon emissions, and keep our environment looking great.
Thank you very much. Lizzie, you have a question?
I actually do. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a care worker, I drive a lot, and I can't help but notice, especially around Merstham area, that the roads are really bad with potholes.
Yeah.
And obviously, because I drive a lot, it really does affect the state of my car. I'm pretty sure it affected the suspension of my old car.
Yeah.
Is there something you're going to do in terms of helping to fix the roads, because it really needs doing, especially in the Merstham Elswood area?
Yeah. I think the most important thing will be communication. So by making it really easy for residents to just get in touch with me, they'll know that they can just quickly drop me a message, and I'll get it to the right person, so that they won't have to worry about who the portfolio holder is, or who's in charge of what division. So I think that's one of the things that will really help. And secondly, I mentioned cycling, but it actually benefits all road users, because the more people we get onto bikes, the more there'll be less congestion. So that will also help ensure the roads are in a good condition.
Thank you. And have a question in the chat box, and it's from Joe from Gloucester Road. And Joe said that he lives in Red Hill, and he would really like to see more opportunities for people with learning disabilities to be able to have work in carpentry and in general. Is there anything sort of plans to, in terms of social enterprises and things like that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I know that on a national scale, the government has launched, is very keen to, it's focusing a lot on apprenticeships, stuff like that. But I think on a local level, there is also the opportunity to link people with the local businesses, which really are a key part of our community. So I'd be very happy to assist on anything like that, if I can help.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, does that answer your question, Joe? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think also about information, so just putting out information, like for instance, this business is looking for an apprentice or something like that would also really help.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Lizzie, question on the taxi cards.
Why do some boroughs in Surrey have taxi vouchers scheme, but not others, i.e. Tandridge?
Oh yeah, so I know the answer to that. Unfortunately, the schemes are administered on a borough level instead of a county level, so it's up to each different borough to assess whether or not it'll be worth having it. But on a county-wide level, so I believe there is one in Reigate and Banstead, but I would be happy to like communicate with the councillors on in the Tadridge divisions. But yeah, on a more county-wide level, the council is taking action. So I know they're going to be investing £80 million to support people with disabilities in schools, so people with special educational needs, and they're also going to be focusing on delivering assisted living homes as well.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I think the taxi card scheme sort of runs parallel to another question that was raised by, I think, Mimi, regarding lack of buses and public transport. No, it's not Mimi, it was another one of the members. There's a lack of sort of buses in their area and things, and then obviously they're hit doubly. People are hit doubly if there's no taxi voucher scheme. So it really is a problem, especially in terms of getting to meetings or work and things like that, when people are on a low income anyway. So it would be really useful and helpful if you could get involved, or help us get involved with that and address that issue. That would be great. Thank you.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so keen to ensure that future development does go around these existing transport hubs, just so that it reduces the need for people to take cars and they'll have access to public transportation options.
Brilliant, thank you.
In terms of existing residents, I'd be very happy to assist.
Thank you very much. That's great. And the other question that I've been asked to raise on behalf of somebody that couldn't be here today is around companion passes. And people are travelling into Croydon, say from Caterham or other boroughs within Surrey, travelling into Croydon, and that journey is free. However, on leaving Croydon and travelling back to where they live, they've been asked to pay a full fare. And I wondered what the reason was, or could you explain why it's not free at both ends?
So that's another one, because the scheme is administered by Transport for London. It covers transport into within the London Borough. So if you use the card at a station within zones 1 to 6, it'll be free there. But if you're leaving and coming into Surrey, then it's not within zones 1 to 6. So I think that's why you'll be charged. But I think, I believe that's the reason. But I think it's best to contact Transport for London directly on that. Brilliant,
thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions that they would like to put to Adam? Jade.
Hi, Adam.
Hi.
It's just a question. As you can see, we support people with learning disabilities, and we have some bloody amazing staff that have worked really, really, really hard through COVID. And it's fair to say that it's very, very expensive for Active Prospect staff to live in the area. And of course, we can only pay our staff what we get given from the government. And we appreciate that there's lots of restrictions around finances and everything because of what's happened with COVID. But we do feel, and I think many of the staff that are on here feel, we're like sometimes the poor relative to the NHS, and that social care is not recognised in the same way that the NHS are recognised, when most staff do exactly the same job. And with the NHS, they have a minimum wage, which is much higher than the national minimum wage. But yet social care providers, we're not able to pay our staff what they deserve. And especially when our staff are living in an extremely expensive area. So I think for me, it's just taking on board the work that social care actually do. And that I feel very, very passionate that people, especially our guys that live in, it's very expensive. We're based in Reigate. Most of our staff do not live in Reigate. They come in from Croydon, from Crawley, that they have to travel in. And I just think it's just really important that people in social care are paid the rate that their job is worth. Just thought I'd put that out there. I appreciate it's a bigger conversation and not something you can answer, but I just think it's really important that staff at Active Prospects here, that we are fighting every day for them to be paid and given the same social status as those that work for the NHS.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I agree. And I also, one of the things I was going to say, because housing in Redhill and Reigate is so expensive, that's really one of the things I want to focus on, just making sure that housing becomes more affordable for people living and working in the area. And yeah, I think one of the ways in which I can achieve that is by focusing on developing around already urban areas, which is going to increase the supply of local housing.
Thank you very much, Adam. Mimi has a question.
Yes, so my question was going back to when we first started the questions and talking about things about technology. I did like a university study with one of the members of staff in Active Prospects about a year and a half ago, and I was going to say it'd be really good to potentially get like easy reads through like assistive technology, so like at the library.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that's a really good idea, and as a Surrey County Council, I would be able to liaise. Like, that is one of the responsibilities of Surrey County Council. So I'd be really keen to ensure that the libraries are working for all residents. So I think that's a really good idea.
Brilliant. That's great and really, really helpful. Thank you. Lizzie?
Sorry, it's me again.
Angela?
It's a baptism of fire for you here, Adam. It is quite a big question, but I know it's a well-known fact that people with learning disabilities generally don't receive a substandard level of healthcare in comparison to people without learning disabilities, and wondered how, I mean, for instance, I support a bunch of people in community, and a lot of them have never had a prostate or cervical exam, and they've never even been sent a letter to ask them to come for a prostate or cervical exam before. Is there anything on a local level that you can do to try and ensure that people with learning disabilities receive the same standard of healthcare as people with non-learning disabilities?
Yeah, definitely. I think the important thing again is information. So just making sure that information is available like in a clear and really accessible way, which might not necessarily be the case at the moment. Which it'll just mean that especially people with learning disabilities will understand the services that are available to them and know how to access them. So either like creating an easy read leaflet, or just having maybe like a central hub, where a central website, so putting on the Surrey County Council website all the information in a really accessible form, and also being able to like ensuring that residents are able to contact us as councillors if they would like more information or more help, or they don't understand something. That it will just mean that all the information is out there, so that people with learning disabilities are able to access the services.
Super. And Adam, just I mean, it needs to be kind of a two-way perspective as well, because it's not just the information coming out to the people with learning disabilities, it's also educating people within healthcare about people with learning disabilities and how to treat people with learning disabilities to make the information more accessible. Because a lot of the time, although I'm in community and I support people with health appointments, that isn't necessarily always the case. Some people, you know, we want to be able to enable people to be able to attend appointments on their own, so that they can confidently attend those appointments, knowing that they're going to be given accessible information from that healthcare provider.
Yeah, and related to that, actually, a few years ago, I did a training called Dementia Training, which is kind of related. It's like how you can best how you can work and understand the needs of people with dementia. So maybe on a similar way, just working with the local providers to ensure they understand the needs of people with learning disabilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for that, Adam. Mimi.
Yeah, this is just a quick question about voting. So in residential care, as I mentioned earlier, if we go out, then we have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Is there any way that is there any other way rather than going to a polling station that we can actually vote a different way this time round?
There was there was the ability to do a postal vote, but the deadline has passed, unfortunately. But I know there's also the ability to do a proxy vote, where someone can vote on your behalf. I'm gonna look up the date and I can get back to you just to see if you're still eligible to sign up for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send the information around afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions that they'd like to put to Adam? No? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
have a question actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask what do you think have been the biggest challenges over the past year, and what can we do as counsellors to help support you?
I think social isolation has been a big issue. If I may step in and say so, again, especially people that live in their own homes, especially people over a certain age as well. I think social isolation is a big issue, and we rely on organisations such as Surrey Choices and Blooming Arts and local organisations that run activities who actually kind of reach out to people who live on their own. But yeah, that's definitely been a big issue, I think.
Yeah.
I also think, people's what mental health and well-being has been affected. People are quite nervous about going back to things in a similar way to how they were. So I think that needs to be a sort of a support network around that. Really, I don't know how you would address that on a sort of a local level at all. It seems to be a huge issue, I think. So maybe more support services. Yeah,
I think that's. Oh yeah, sorry.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out a bit, like, I appreciate it's national agenda and not local agenda, Adam. But we have Pauline here from Montford. Pauline, give us a wave.
Hi.
So Pauline is of in the 80s. Pauline lives in supported living in a group home, and Pauline can go out and not have to self-isolate. And then we have Mimi here, who's 21. No health issues, and because she lives in a care home, she can't go out unless she self-isolates for 14 days. So you can see from our perspective, a lot of the COVID things that came out were mainly based around elderly care homes without any actual thought for people with learning disabilities. So we've got a situation where an 80-year-old can go out and do what she likes in supported living, lives with other people in shared accommodation exactly the same way in the accommodation Mimi lives, but Mimi can't go out because her home is registered as a care home. Pauline's is registered as a supported living home. It just doesn't make any sense. So Mimi can't go to the shops unless she self-isolates, but Pauline can do all the things that we can do. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd be very happy to work with you and get something to your MP on that so that they're able to assist.
Excellent, thank you.
Just putting pressure on this issue.
Yes, brilliant. Well, that seems to be it, Adam. So once again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you're so busy, and we will be in touch around some of the things that you've kindly offered to help us with. That'll be great. And good luck for the 6th of May.
Yeah.
Good luck. Take care.
Okay, thanks very much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.